15th March.
15th, no?
Yeah.
Well, let me just check with Nana whether he can join us tomorrow.
Wow.
Sometime at least. They're actually in the thick of a lot of painting and all that, house painting. So let me see how we can work it out. I'm muting all, so you can then unmute yourself, huh? Yeah. Maybe you could start in a minute's time. You're okay to share, no? Otherwise, I will keep my computer ready.
Yeah. The internet seems to be stable.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You can start, Bella.
Oh. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. So we were talking about different types of sukha. I will just take a previous paragraph which we completed yesterday. There are three types of sukha: Vishaya Sukha, Vidya Sukha, and Yoga Sukha. Vidya Sukha and Vishaya Sukha are experienced by everyone, whereas Yoga Sukha is experienced by a disciplined person, a karma yogi, a prayerful person, a devotee. Because of the person's maturity, a certain sukha is there. In the seat of meditation, there is sukha. Discipline, health, and so on bring about a certain sukha, a satisfaction, all of which is implied by yoga sukha. Then there is a fourth sukha called turiya sukha, which does not depend on any gain, accomplishment, or anything. It is not born out of any particular piece of knowledge that you discover, nor any object that you gain. It is just the recognition of yourself alone, because of which there is a sukha. This sukha is the sukha mentioned by Krishna in this verse, Atyantika Sukha, absolute sukha. This is also recognized by the intellect, buddhi grahya, and is beyond sense perception, atindriya. So very beautifully Bhagwan has summarized the three types, and the fourth type, which is absolute sukha, atyantika sukha, which is beyond the sense perception and which is buddhi grahya. The sukha that is yourself, this is where people sometimes commit mistake. Atindriya sukha means that the sukha is not due to sense perception. At the same time, every sukha is buddhi grahya, recognized by the intellect. Vishaya sukha, Vidya sukha, and Yoga sukha are also buddhi grahya, but not atindriya, whereas this absolute sukha is buddhi grahya and also atindriya, meaning that it is not due to any external situation or internal condition. Yoga Sukha also is not born of an external situation, but it is born of an internal situation, while Vishaya Sukha is born of external. I'm so sorry. Suddenly at this time it goes, the screen. Yoga Sukha also is not born of an external situation, but it is born of an internal situation, while Vishaya Sukha is born of external situations. But the Sukha that Krishna is talking about here is not born of anything. It is yourself. People naturally want to know what this Sukha is born of. How can it be brought into being? But this concept of Sukha being born is due to ignorance. It is a samsari's approach, an approach of the ignorant, the non-discriminating person. Therefore, we have to be very careful here. Absolute Sukha is Buddhi Grahya and at the same time Atindriya, which means it has nothing to do with sense perception or anything. It is oneself. When the person, the meditator, the seeker comes to recognize the Atma Swarupa, Yatra Veti, what happens? He or she does not slip away from the truth of Atma as absolute happiness. Atyantika Sukham, Tatvatah Na Chalati. Here, Tattva means the Swarupa, the essential nature of a thing, as expressed by the suffix ness. There is no appropriate word in English for Swarupa. Here, Tattva is the truth or Swarupa of the Atma, which is Atyantika Sukha Swarupa, which is free from any form of limitation, Purna Swarupa. From this, the person never moves away. Na eva chalati. The difference between recognition and experience. This recognition marks the difference between ordinary yoga, meaning Ashtanga yoga, and what we are talking about here. You must know this well and not confuse this recognition with the samadhi of Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga yoga is a discipline which has its own place in preparing the mind for the knowledge to take place. For this reason, you should not think of it as useless or anything. Ashtanga yoga is a great discipline, but if it is not understood as such, there can naturally be confusion between it and the knowledge of oneself, Atma Gnana, which is the ultimate and the freedom that everyone seeks. The samadhi that Ashtanga Yoga talks about is in terms of experience. In fact, if as a samsari you have to accomplish anything in this world that is in the world of samsara, samadhi is the greatest accomplishment experientially. In this sense, Ashtanga Yoga has the last word in terms of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, a state of absorption wherein there is no second thing at all. The knower, known, and the instrument of knowledge, all three of them coalesce into one experience lasting for a length of time. Although it does not take away the samsara, it is definitely the last word in samsara. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the opposite of deep sleep. In deep sleep, there is Nirvikalpa, all right, meaning that the knower, known, knowledge division is not there. But in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the mind is awake, unlike in the deep sleep where the mind is sleeping. In both cases, there is a jnana, the difference being that when the mind is asleep, there is no vritti, whereas in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the mind is awake, meaning there is vritti. Therefore, the greatest thing you can have in life is Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is why it is the greatest hooker also. It mates people because it is the last thing that you can think of accomplishing in samsara, in your life here in this world. Experience always has an end. So here Bhagwan has very beautifully differentiated between the sukha, what we are getting out of different types, and the sukha which we have, that is absolute sukha, the turiya sukha, how it is different from nirvikalpa samadhi as well, which is a result of ashtanga yoga. Experience always has an end, but nirvikalpa samadhi has an end. It is something you come out of. All that is needed is for someone to drop something in front of you or to start a vacuum cleaner in the next house. As soon as you become aware of the sound, you are not only out of nirvikalpa samadhi, you may be into anger as well. Why? This is because nirvikalpa samadhi is something that does not last forever. You will come out of it in time. And once you are out of it, it becomes a past experience that you then talk to others about. Swamiji, yesterday I had the most wonderful thing happen to me. Even the language used to describe the experience is different. But as soon as the thoughts come, or someone begins hammering, or a child begins to cry, or a bug creeps up your leg, real or imagined, it's gone. You have come out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. There are those who will tell you that once you experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi and you come out of that experience, the world will be different. They also say that you experience the Atma in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. How can this be? All that happened was that the knower, known, knowledge difference coalesced. All differences disappeared. A desirable experience, no doubt. It is recognized by the intellect. It is buddhi grahya. Mind is also beyond sense perception, atindriya. But how has this experience changed the state of your vision? In fact, you may become very sad. Before you knew Atma, you were only sad if you lost some money, some power, some hair, or a relationship. Now, having known the Atma, you have a new item which can be lost and be a cause for sadness yourself. Previously, you lost certain things but retained yourself. But now you have experienced a much greater loss, the loss of yourself. Therefore, practitioners of samadhi may have a certain sadness if samadhi does not come, sadness even when it comes because it does not last. And even if it lasts for some time, there is sadness because it ends. All that can be said is that I was eternal for half an hour. For that period of time, the division between the knower, known, and knowledge that is usually there went away. Time itself went away. For half an hour, you were free from time, which means you were timeless, eternal. And after half an hour, you become what? Non-eternal. Even if you have samadhi for 2 days, you become non-eternal. In this way, it is no different than being in a coma for 2 days and then coming out of it. While in the coma, there was no division whatsoever, and the person also did not know what was happening. Therefore, the length of time that one is in Nirvikalpa Samadhi has no meaning. I'm going a little fast since we have already covered these all points. Discipline implies a certain mastery of the mind. As a discipline, however, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is great because when you gather such an experience, it indicates that you have a certain mastery. Otherwise, you would not have been able to have the experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi because a certain mastery is involved. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is considered to be the height of experience that one can gain. It is like a prize, the end for those who want to gain experience. To say that it indicates a certain sattvika vritti on one's part is fine. But to say that after you come out of nirvikalpa samadhi, you will see the world entirely differently is not correct. Because how you see the world depends purely on your vision of reality. Having experienced nirvikalpa samadhi, you have to interpret that experience. And to interpret the experience, you must have a pramana, a means of knowledge. Again, then we come back to pramana because you do not interpret an experience in any other way than by what you know. All interpretations depend entirely upon your knowledge, which is dependent on the pramana available to you. And all the pramanas that one has, perception, inference, etc., operate by maintaining a duality of karta, the doer, karma, the object of doing, kriya, the act of doing itself, karana, the instrument of doing, etc. All these are collectively called as karakas. Retaining the duality alone, one's pramanas, the various means of knowledge operate. Perception, pratyaksha, the inference, anumana, do not swallow the karakas. Only the agama, the teaching, swallows them. It says that you are not the knower, pramata. You are the very essence of the knower, the knowledge, and the object of the knowledge, all three of them being one and the same. In this way, the Agama resolves the division, which is exactly what this verse is saying. Knowing Atma, not moving from the truth of Atma, there is no knower, known, knowledge division for the person. Nor is there any question about when you are going to get out of yourself, because both thought and the object of thought are you, Atma. Thought is you. There is no way of getting out of yourself because with thought you are, and without thought you are. Whether you are with the world or without the world, it is you all the time. This we shall see clearly later because the statement Tattvatah na chalati in the verse under the study implies gnana, knowledge. The word yoga is not to be taken in its usual sense. It is more viyoga than yoga, as Krishna explains a little later. Previously, due to ignorance, there was an association, samyoga, with dukkha, sorrow, taking it to be oneself, which was the problem. Yoga means joining, association, and viyoga means disassociation from the association. Previously, the person was in association with the body, mind, and senses, which was not a simple association because the person actually took the body, mind, sense complex to be himself or herself. Then the person dissociated himself or herself from sorrow by knowledge, which does not imply Ashtanga Yoga. In order to remove any confusion here, Krishna first says Tattvatah na chalati and then redefines the word yoga in one sentence later in keeping with what he is teaching. So till here we did yesterday. So today we will begin further explanation by Bhagavan about the yoga. Anyone would like to would want me to repeat any paragraph? Please let me know. Okay. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tatah yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidhyat dukha sanyoga viyogam yoga sangitam सनिश्चयेन योक्तव्यो योगो निर्विण्ण चेतसा. Cha and yama labdva, having gained which, tatah adhikam, better than that, aparam, other, labham, gain, na manyate, does not think, yasmin, in which, sthitah, established, guruna api dukkhena, even by a great sorrow, na vichalyate, is not affected, tam, that, dukkha sanyoga viyogam, dissociation from association with sorrow, yoga sangnitam, called by the name of yoga, vidyat, may one know, anirvinna chetasa, with the mind that is not discouraged, saha yogaha, that yoga, nishchayena, with clarity of purpose, yoktavyaha, should be pursued. Cha, I will just read the shloka once again. Yam labdva cha param labham manyate nadhikam tatah yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Cha yam labdva adhikam tatah adhikam aparam labham na manyate yasmin sthitah gurunapi dukkhena na vichalyate tam dukha sanyoga viyogam yoga sangetam vidyat anirvinna chetasa sayogah nishchayen yoktavyaha. And having gained which one does not think there is any other better gain than that, established in which one is not affected even by a great sorrowful event, may one know that dissociation from association with sorrow to be what is called as yoga. That yoga should be pursued with clarity of purpose, with a mind that is not discouraged. I will repeat once again the meaning of these two beautiful shloka. And having gained which, one does not think there is any other better gain than that, established in which one is not affected even by a great sorrowful event, may one know that dissociation from association with sorrow to be what is called as yoga. That yoga should be pursued with clarity of purpose, with a mind that is not discouraged. The person being discussed here does not slip away from the truth of himself or herself, Atma Tattva, because Atma is not some place he or she went to and can return from. When it is said that you go to the abode of Atma and rejoice there, some location comes to mind, and the question then becomes, for how long? All kinds of imaginations are therefore possible. You may think it is like going somewhere as a guest, staying as long as you are entertained, and then afterwards coming back. However, when it is clear that remaining with Atma is in terms of knowledge of the Swarupa of Atma, conveyed here by the expression Tattvatah na chalati, then there is no question of ever being away from it, because remaining does not depend even on memory. Wow, so beautiful. So it is Atma, going to Atma Tattva is not like going to certain locations, staying there for some time as a guest, and then again coming back to the world of duality. It is rejoicing at that place, rejoicing there in that Atma Tattva.
Can you just read the last two sentences, Bella?
Yeah. You may think it is like going somewhere as a guest, staying as long as you are entertained, and then afterwards coming back. However, when it is clear that remaining with Atma is in terms of knowledge of the Swarupa of Atma, conveyed here by the expression Tattvatah na chalati, then there is no question of ever being away from it, because remaining does not depend even on memory.
That the last, see, because remaining does not depend on even on the memory, means memory also will, that will not be there. That chitta is completely absorbed in the Atma only. So wonderful that to get it to that, so nice. When we will get it?
We are that. It is the Swarupa. People sometimes
No,
ask,
we are that, but we come back, no, again to the
yes,
world.
in the world of duality.
So means even the memory of it will not make you to come back. That is what he says. Remaining does not depend on even on memory.
People, shall I go ahead? Anyone has some something to discuss? This verse is so appropriate for all of us, the samsaris. I will just read the meaning once again because it is very important to remember, please. And having gained which, one does not think there is any other better gain than that, established in which one is not affected even by a great sorrow or sorrowful event. May one know that dissociation from association with sorrow to be what is called as yoga. That yoga should be pursued with clarity of purpose, with a mind that is not discouraged. People sometimes ask, Swamiji, suppose I forget the Atma. You can forget the words I used to point out the Atma, but you cannot forget the meaning of those words once you have understood it. The meaning of the words is Atma. You can forget Sat Chit Ananda, but if Sat is understood by you, Chit is understood by you, and Ananda is understood by you, how can you forget? The words themselves are only the Lakshana of Atma for revealing the nature of Atma. Therefore, they can be forgotten. But the meaning is you. How can you forget you? You cannot, because knowing yourself is not something that is memory based. Even if you lose your memory in an accident or whatever, it is the same. Does loss of memory not affect one's knowledge? People often pose this question also. Swamiji, suppose a jnani, a man who already has the self-knowledge, has a car accident and loses the use of all his brain cells. His head is so smashed up, he remembers nothing. not even his own name. Isn't his knowledge of Atma also gone? No, his knowledge is not gone because there was no his knowledge. There was only this self is Brahman, Ayam Atma Brahma. Recognizing this fact, he was already liberated. There is only one moksha, and that takes place while leaving Jivan Mukti. Moksha is a matter of understanding, not of memory. And once you gain this understanding, this knowledge, there is no moving away. Such a beautiful assurance by Swamiji's explanation. Then the question may come, Swamiji, suppose I do gain Atma, then what should I do? Previously, you had many adventures, and now you are thinking about having an Atma adventure. Naturally, then you want to know what your next adventure will be after Atma has been gained. You have been to Caribbean, to Hawaii, you have scaled mountains, skied at the slopes, and you have learned how to roller skate. All these adventures being over, you say, let me do some Atma adventure. Let me see what it is all about. Because there are people who keep talking about it. Wanting to cover everything, you come to Atma. This wanting to cover everything is a different attitude than that of a mumukshu, of course. Unlike the mumukshu, this person does not want anyone to know more about anything than he or she knows. Perhaps the person had heard the word Atma or Brahman at some dinner party and he or she wants to know what it is all about. So as not to appear ignorant in this particular area. Suppose in the process of finding out, this person gets caught in this particular pursuit and gets this Atma Gnana, Atma now being covered. What would the person do next is the question. Some people really think like this. They say they have tried this and that, and they have tried Vedanta also. This verse is for such people. The word gain is used here with just this kind of person in view, the one who always wants to cover all areas. The word gaining, labdva, means knowing, jnatva. The jnana itself is the gain here because it is sukha. This gain is in terms of human ends, purusharthas, what people go after. Gaining Atma, the person does not think, na manyate, that there is anything other, apara, that is better than Atma. Tatah adhikaha, to gain. I will read this paragraph up again. Some people really think like this. They say they have tried this and that, and they have tried Vedanta also. This verse is for such people. The word gain is used here with just this kind of people, this kind of person in view, the one who always wants to cover all areas. The word gaining, labdva, means knowing, jnatva. The jnana itself is the gain here because it is sukha. This gain is in terms of human ends, purusharthas, what people go after. Gaining Atma, the person does not think, na manyate, that there is anything other, apara, that is better than Atma, tatah adhikah, to gain. So beautiful. Is there a better gain than self-knowledge? Why is there no better gain, labdva, labha, kshamyatam? Why is there no better gain, labha, because a gain is something that should make you better. If you gain something that makes you worse, it is not a gain, it is a problem. You thought you bought a gain, but instead you bought a problem. Just like when you buy a property, the property itself is a great gain, but the litigation against it is the problem. And because you do not know how to get out of the problems, the property is not really a gain. It is only a problem gain. Gain then means that you must feel that you are better off than you were before. If you gain Atma, its Swarupa being Atyantika Sukha, a Sukha that is not dependent upon anything because Atma is everything. It is Purna. What gain is better than that? How are you going to better it? By what are you going to better it? Therefore, the person discussed in this verse does not even think there can be another gain. He or she does not say, okay, I have seen Atma. Now let me look for something else. There is no something else. Something else is also Atma. Even if this is accepted, the question may then be asked. Suppose the person does not come out of this game and go after something else. There being nothing else, what happens if some great tragedy occurs to him or her? Will the person's ananda not be disturbed? No, remaining in that yasmin sthitah, meaning knowledge of Atma, the person is not affected even by some colossal tragedy. Dukkhena guruna api na vichalyate. The word guru has many meanings. Here it means big or heavy and is the opposite of laghu, meaning easy, simple, lightweight. I will just read this paragraph. It is very beautiful. If this is accepted, the question may then be asked. Suppose the person does not come out of this gain and go after something else. There being nothing else, what happens if some great tragedy occurs to him or her? Will the person's ananda not be disturbed? No, remaining in that yasmin sthitaha, meaning knowledge of Atma, the person is not affected even by some colossal tragedy. Dukkhena guruna api na vichalayate. The word guru has many meanings. Here it means big or heavy and is the opposite of laghu, meaning easy, simple or lightweight. One may be able to endure a great deal of pain or sorrow without being affected, but suppose a great tragedy happens. Will this person not come out of that Atma in which he or she remains and go somewhere else? No, the person remains in Atma. To come out of Atma and go somewhere else is not possible because somewhere else is also Atma. Therefore, whatever the dukkha, the person remains in Atma, confirming what Krishna had said previously when he said, Tattvatah na eva eva chalati. The person never moves away. Here, he says that this person is not shaken, not affected by any situation because for this person, all situations are also not other than Atma. So beautiful. This yoga, please let me know if you want me to repeat any paragraph or sentence. Anyone would like to share? Because this is the essence of the whole, both the shlokas which we started with.
Jai Gurudev, the mind is constantly wants to say what next, what next. So there's nothing, no next. This is the right now. This is everything. That's what I understand from this. So nice.
Yes, so beautiful. This yoga Krishna is talking about here is a yoga that is more a dissociation than association. In verse 20, the word yoga referred to the practice of contemplation, the object of which is Atma, seeing which one rejoices in oneself. Yatra uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra cha eva atmana atmanam pashyan atmani tushyati. This yoga is called Jnana Yoga because Atma is seen with the mind with the help of knowledge. And in the wake of this knowledge, self-knowledge, naturally there is self-rejoicing because self-seeking is no longer there. There is freedom from seeking. In the verse, after completing this paragraph, I'll read once again the shloka, verse 20 and 21. In verse 21, the nature of Atma was said to be absolute happiness, recognized by the intellect and yet beyond sense perception. Sukham atyantika yat tad buddhi grahyam atindriyam, knowing which one remains in oneself, never moving away from the truth of oneself. Veti yatra na cha eva ayam sthitaha chalati tattvataha. The truth of oneself is absolute happiness, ananda, whereas all other happiness always depends upon a mental condition. Ordinary enjoyments, bhogas, depend upon our external condition plus our mental condition. Some external object must be available in a certain situation and in a form that is desirable. Even if the external situation is available, you may not be in the mood for it. Therefore, it has to wait for you to be in a better mood. You may have bought a particular tape of music that you generally love, but not today. The music has to wait for you to enjoy it until you are in the mood for it. This is because the sukha that is born of an external condition depends upon two situations, the external condition itself and a conducive internal mental condition. Whereas the Swarupa Sukha that we are talking about does not depend upon either. Rather, it is born out of the recognition of the self being free from any sense of limitation. So, Krishna here is saying the Vishaya Sukha, which is dependent on our external and internal situation, is different from our Swarupa Sukha, Turiya Sukha, which is we are that. Because it is born out of, it is Buddhi Grahya, but it is beyond the sense perception. May I just read the 20 and 21st shloka once again? We think we did it yesterday and day before yesterday. I'm sorry, I will. Yeah. So here Bhagwan had discussed about different types of sukha. So yatto paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati. Sukhamatyantikam yattat
You can read the meaning also,
matindriyam.
madam. You can read the meaning also, meaning.
Astu. Okay. When the mind, mastered by the practice of meditation, abides in Atma, and when seeing oneself by oneself alone, one rejoices in oneself. Sukhamatyantam yattat buddhitahyam atindriyam veti yatra nachaivayam stitaschalati tattvataha. And when one recognizes this absolute happiness, which is recognized by the intellect, which is beyond sense perception, and when being rooted therein, one never moves away from the truth of oneself. Wow, so beautiful. Anyone would like to share anything, or I should read? So the Swarupa Sukha is the ultimate. You do not want anything else. It doesn't depend on any external situation, neither external nor internal, because it is your own Swarupa. And that is the Sukha. And there is no other thing other than Atma to be known, to be achieved, to be accomplished, to be gained.
It's beyond your sense perception.
Very true. Yeah.
Only understood by the intellect.
Yeah. Buddhi grahyam
Grahya
atindriyam.
atindriyam. Very, very
Yeah.
authenticum.
In one paragraph, Swamiji made a distinction between a person who's just curious to know what this Atma is, because he has achieved XYZ and he also wants to achieve Atma, versus a mumukshu. Right? So can we just go through that
He
paragraph?
says that is not mumukshu. He just wanted to know it.
Okay. Then the question may come, Swamiji, suppose I do gain, then what should I do? Previously, you had many adventures, and now you are thinking about having an Atma adventure. Naturally, then you want to know what your next adventure will be after Atma has been gained. You have been to Caribbean, to Hawaii, you have scaled mountains, skied the slopes, and you have learned how to roller skate. All these adventures being over, you say, let me do some Atma adventure. Let me see what it is all about. Because there are people who keep talking about it. Wanting to cover everything, you come to Atma. This wanting to cover everything is a different attitude than that of a mumukshu, of course. Unlike the mumukshu, this person does not want anyone to know more about anything than he or she knows. Perhaps the person had heard the word Atma or Brahman at some dinner party, and he or she wants to know what it is all about, so as not to appear ignorant in this particular area. Suppose in the process of finding out, this person gets caught in this particular pursuit and gets this Atma Jnana. Atma now being covered, what would the person do next is the question. Some people really think like this. They say they have tried this and that, and they have tried Vedanta also. This verse is for such people. The word gain is used here with just this kind of person in view, the one who always wants to cover all areas. The word gaining, labdhva, means knowing, gnatva. The jnana itself is the gain here because it is sukha. Then this gain is in terms of human ends, purusharthas, what people go after. Gaining Atma, the person does not think, na manyate, that there is anything other, apara, that is better than Atma. Tatah adhika, adhikah, to gain. You want to read something more?
So, which means this person, although he's out of curiosity, he's landed up in this pursuit of Atma. Once he gains Atma, there is nothing else for him to gain. His route, I mean, that is what I understood from this this paragraph. Although he's not a mumukshu, although he's landed in the pursuit of Atma not as a mumukshu, but as someone who wants to gather and, complete his experience. He wants not to have anything incomplete. But once he gains Atma, then there is nothing else further to gain. That is why Swamiji is saying this verse is meant for such people. Yam labdhva chaparam labham. So that gain mentality, I think it is catering to such people.
This yoga Krishna is talking about here. I think I read right, this one. Yeah. So we already completed about the Vishaya Sukha and Swarupa Sukha difference. Krishna then points out that the person who recognizes this Swarupa Sukha never comes out of it because there is nothing better to be gained. Yam labdva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. This gain in the form of self-knowledge is also called yoga. It is not a challenge that once achieved and no longer holding your interest has to be followed by another challenge. Looking for greater and greater challenges is based on the desire to prove oneself, to prove that one exists, for which one has to do something adventurous, something different, something new, something challenging. Only then does one feel alive and not like an old piece of furniture. This feeling is what keeps people going, in fact. Because they have to live within themselves, a challenge can become so important that they sacrifice everything for it. If a person does not feel that he or she is a somebody, naturally the person has to create some challenge or other in order to feel I exist, I am somebody. This I will read once again as it is. Krishna then points out that the person who recognizes this Swarupa Sukha never comes out of it because there is nothing better to be gained. Yam labdva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. This gain in the form of self-knowledge is also called yoga. It is not a challenge that once achieved and no longer holding your interest has to be followed by another challenge. Looking for greater and greater challenges is based on the desire to prove oneself, to prove that one exists, for which one has to do something adventurous, something different, something new, something challenging. Only then does one feel alive and not like an old piece of furniture. This feeling is what keeps people going, in fact. Because they have to live within themselves, a challenge can become so important that they sacrifice everything for it. If a person does not feel that he or she is a somebody, naturally the person has to create some challenge or other in order to feel I exist, I am somebody, etc. Anyone can explain? It is a little. After gaining the self-knowledge, the Swarupa Sukha, you have nothing else to gain. My understanding is you don't have to have any other thing to be accomplished once you get the Swarupa Sukha. That also get word is not, you are that Satchitananda. I think I will read further so that it becomes more clear.
Here what happens? Somebody wants to show that I am something, someone, and I am somebody. So he goes to have some challenges. I can walk. I will go to this marathon. I will go to this to prove that he is somebody. Here, when you are achieving with Atma, you have dissolved that somebody, and with that dissolution of zero, that nobody, you have become everybody because that Atma is everywhere. So there is no further challenges at all. That is what it says. It is nothing. When you have become Atma, you are everyone. Wherever you see, that is same. Even in Dukkha, it is the same thing. Even in Sukha, other things, it is same thing. Everywhere, wherever you see, you are seeing only the Atma. So there is no other further challenges or to show something that I am somebody.
Also, if you remember in, I think, Atma Bodh introduction, Swamiji had mentioned, he said, when you cannot be by yourself for a normal person. He wants to, get into this and that. If not something, he will start doing something because he wants to feel that he exists. Here, what is being talked of is there is no new, nothing to be done in order to prove your existence because you are that. But the normal mentality is, in order for me to feel I exist, I have to do something to give that ego the boost that I am somebody. When actually what is required is that dissociation from that somebody. That is the viyoga. That is the actual yoga where you dissociate yourself from the association of yourself, of that I, of that small I.
That is Dukkha.
Which is Dukkha Purita, isn't it?
Yeah, so beautiful. Very nice.
So even
Wonderfully explained,
ourselves,
Brahmaraji.
when we are by ourselves, just imagine you're just doing nothing. Can we just sit doing nothing? The mind is not like, mind is slippery. It wants to hold on to something. It'll either hold on to a thought, and with that thought, we want to pursue and do some action, or it goes on its fantasy trip on its own. Not doing anything, just dropping everything and just being with yourself. That, I think the opposite of that is what is meant by someone pursuing that, in order to feel that he exists, he wants to do something to feel that he exists. But in fact, in spite of whether you do or not do, you exist. And that is the Atma Jnana. That is why even if a big tragedy befalls this person who has attained this, who has realized, recognized Atma, it will not shake him. He will be like that Deepa, which is the flame which is not flickering. There is a lot of vrittis happening, but he remains steadfast.
He dissociates with the Dukkha.
Yeah.
And that is what is yoga. That is. Krishna
Because
says.
he's in the Advaita Bhav, no? What is there to cause dukkha for him or sukha? He's in that space, beautiful space of bliss. He's the only one that exists. That is it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. The resolution of all seeking. Having gained Atma, then would I still have to create new challenges for myself? No, because gaining Atma is a gain, gaining which there is no better gain. The person does not move from the truth of oneself. Tatvatah na chalati, meaning that the seeking after challenges is resolved. This resolution is the gain in fact. All seeking can be reduced to self-confusion. Therefore, the resolving of the self-confusion is the resolving of the very seeking itself. In this resolution, the seeker and the sought become one and the same, which was what Krishna meant in verse 22 when he said, and having gained that Atma, one does not think that there is any other better gain. Yam labdva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. And if a big tragedy should occur, what happens to the person? Krishna covers that also. He says, firmly established in that Atma, he or she is not disturbed even by great sorrow. Yasmin sthitah dukkhena guruna api na vichalayate. Therefore, there is no question of getting out of Atma. No external situation is going to affect the person, nor will the person become tired of himself or herself and get out. Moving away from something can take place either by slipping away from it or by withdrawing from it or by something else coming and disturbing you. But fullness cannot be disturbed in any way. Neither the world nor anything else can disturb fullness. Fullness accommodates every event that can take place in one's life. Also, fullness is not something that one can get out of because it is oneself. Wow, so beautiful. Therefore, knowing all that has been discussed in the previous 3 verses, there is no coming back from the sukha that is Atma, the gain of it, the joy of it, the fullness of it, the freedom of it. All that has been pointed out is called yoga. Yoga Sangnitam. Krishna says, thus he gave us a new way of looking at the word yoga. So beautiful. Another definition for yoga, the root yug, from which the word yoga is derived. I think it is yuj. The root yuj, from which the word yoga is derived, has 2 meanings, yojana and nirodha. Yojana means connecting or uniting 2 things. Thus, when 2 things are put together, it is yoga. Whereas nirodha means control, stopping, mastering, which is how Patanjali defined yoga in the 2nd sutra of the Yoga Sutra, yoga chitta vritti nirodha, meaning yoga is the mastery of one's thinking processes, indicating that yoga is a discipline by itself. Since both meanings for the word yoga are used in the Gita, we have to see from the context whether the word is used in the sense of union or control. Here, originally, there seems to be union of the mind with Atma. The mind contemplates upon Atma. Therefore, Atma becomes the Dheya, the object of contemplation. The mind is the one that becomes united with the object of contemplation, Atma, and the attempt to unite the two is called yoga, which is the sense we generally get from the word yoga. It implies two different things coming together, just as two people come together in marriage, a connection, sambandha of some kind, whatever the nature of the connection may be. If you want me to repeat anything, please let me know. Should I read ahead or we can stop for Manana because there
And you
is a lot.
can read a bit ahead, Bela, till you complete this concept,
Yeah.
yoga.
Okay. Yeah. What is joined together can also fall apart. Now, whenever two things come together, there is a tendency for them to fall apart also. Therefore, they have to be kept together somehow. If two people are involved, the tendency is for them to move away from each other, each one going off in opposite directions. Similarly, two pieces of material tied together will stay together only as long as that which binds them lasts. Once the binding factor wears out, the two pieces of material will fall apart. Here too, the mind can move away from Atma if it is attracted by some external object. It can be disturbed by a vritti, a thought for which there is an object, for which you are given senses. And if your senses do not operate, your memory is always there. Your memory is good enough to provide you with the whole world. Because of memory, the mind will never find itself wanting in terms of objects to think about. Therefore, the sense of connection between the mind and Atma conveyed by the word yoga makes it seem that the mind contemplating on Atma will come away from Atma. Because the word yoga has this intrinsic problem, Krishna redefines it here in an opposite sense. This redefinition is called Viparita Lakshana, meaning that the word is used in its limited sense, and then the limitations are knocked off by redefining it. In fact, because words have to be used, the whole teaching is like this. A particular word is used and then its limitations are knocked off to reveal its absolute sense, which is Atma. Yoga, dissociation from association. Until now, Krishna uses the word yoga in its limited sense. And here he knocks off the limitation. In fact, he knocks off the very word itself by presenting yoga in a different way. He defines yoga as samyoga viyoga. Samyoga has the same meaning as yoga, union, the prefix sam conveying the sense of being very well united. When the prefix sam is replaced with the prefix vi, the resultant word is viyoga, which conveys exactly the opposite meaning, that of dissociation. Samyoga means association, and wherever there is association, there can be dissociation, which is the meaning of viyoga. In either case, the word yoga remains, one prefix being replaced by the other to create the opposite meaning. For this reason, prefixes, upasargas, are very important in Sanskrit. In English also, prefixes can be used in this way as in declinable and indeclinable. For example, where a negative prefix is used to arrive at the opposite meaning of the word. Similarly, the prefix V added to yoga points out the negative aspect or the absence of yoga. In this way, Krishna is saying that the yoga we are talking about here is more a dissociation than an association. All that was said before in terms of yoga, how to sit, how to live one's life, etc., all the disciplines that were advised earlier are for the sake of which yoga? For the yoga being discussed here in the previous 3 verses. May one know that tam vidyat. May one know that yoga as what? As dukkha samyoga viyoga, as the dissociation from the association with sorrow. This is what Krishna calls yoga here, and this is the yoga that is to be known. Yoga samgnitam tam vidyat. Association with dukkha means association with pain, with sorrow. Anything undesirable is connected with dukkha. There is dukkhena samyogaha. And this union or association with dukkha is no ordinary association. It is a very well entrenched association, because this association with sorrow is not ordinary. Krishna uses the word samyoga here. No one wants to have dukkha, but the yoga with it, the union with it is so complete that although you want to get out of it, you cannot. Even though no one wants sorrow, everyone is subject to it. Since we do not want to be sad, why do we become sad? It is not that one wants to get into a state of sadness, but then there is yoga with sadness, and that yoga seems to be some yoga, a connection that is very difficult to pull out of. In fact, you cannot pull out. There is no way of pulling out. I think we have to read this once again, isn't it? Should I go ahead, Brahmaraji?
Go ahead, because it completes
How much?
the...
Yeah, how much more is there for this the verse, Bela?
It is...
I think it goes on, no?
Yeah. Because it is so important topic, very important topic.
If I remember right, this is where even China had mentioned you cannot, between what Bhagwan Krishna is talking about here and what Patanjali says, you cannot draw a comparison, because then you'll only end up with confusion. What Patanjali says is where you abide in the self, is your mind is, you're removing all the thoughts and you're settling down and you're in that self. What Krishna is saying here is that settling down can also get detached. That yoga, that so-called yoga, can also get detached. That is not what he's talking about. He's saying samyogat viyogaha. So he's dissociating that beautiful, that very strong association between the mind and the rest of the body. So that comes only with recognition. It does not come with any practice. It is only through knowledge. So I think that is what I remembered. But if you want to read that one paragraph once, and then maybe we'll do Manana on that. We have about 50
Brahmaraji, I will share the screen. Could someone read?
Yeah.
If you want me to continue, this was the last line I left here.
No, I think why is sorrow so well?
Yeah, here.
The last paragraph that you read.
Yeah. I am a yoga samganitam tam vidyat. This was the last line, right?
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to read, this suffix and prefix are also very important, like happy, unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the happy word remains. It is just the prefix and suffix which makes them. So same way yoga, samyoga and viyoga. Swamiji's description is so adorable. Yeah, from where you shall I keep this page open, Brahmaraji?
Yeah, this page is fine. This page
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah.
I will just read this. So for this reason,
Yeah.
upasargas are very important in Sanskrit. In English also, prefixes can be used in this way as in declinable and indeclinable. For example, where a negative prefix is used to arrive at the opposite meaning of the word. Similarly, the prefix V added to yoga points out the negative aspect or the absence of yoga. In this way, Krishna is saying that the yoga we are talking about here is more a dissociation than an association. All that was said before in terms of yoga, how to sit, how to live one's life, etc., all the disciplines that were advised earlier are for the sake of which yoga, for the yoga being discussed here in the previous 3 verses. May one know that tam vidyat, may one know that yoga is what? As dukkha samyoga viyoga, as the dissociation from the association with sorrow. This is what Krishna calls yoga here. And this is the yoga that is to be known. Yoga sangitam tam vidyat. Association with dukkha means association with pain, with sorrow. Anything undesirable is connected with dukkha. There is dukkhena samyogaha. And this union or association with dukkha is no ordinary association. It is a very well entrenched association. Because this association with sorrow is not ordinary, Krishna uses the word samyoga here. No one wants to have dukkha, but the yoga with it, the union with it, is so complete that although you want to get out of it, you cannot. Even though no one wants sorrow, everyone is subject to it. Since we do not want to be sad, why do we become sad? It is not that one wants to get into a state of sadness, but then there is yoga with sadness, and that yoga seems to be samyoga, a connection that is very difficult to pull out of. In fact, you cannot pull out. There is no way of pulling out. Yeah, I think we'll stop here. We can we'll look at the pulling out and why it is not pulled out tomorrow, why you can't pull out. It is more an aspect of recognizing it. So maybe we can all close our eyes and reflect and then come up with our understanding. Yeah, I think we can all share. The samyoga is so strong, this identification with the body, mind, and senses is such a strong association. It is samyoga, and therefore getting out of it, the viyoga of the samyoga is what is called as yoga, as defined by Krishna over here. So the dissociation with the association is what is yoga. He is redefining yoga by using the opposite term. It is like a process of neti over here. You're saying, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, not the senses, not the memory, not the ego. So what remains? So rather than pulling out, you're not pulling out, you're actually peeling it off layer by layer, and then you're dissociating with that association.
So really good. It is in Ashtavakra, Guruji says, Sandeha, it is same thing. Sandeha means attached to the body. So every doubt starts. To pull out of that, he says, be attached to the breath, that is Chaitanya. In practice, therefore we do that practice, no? We witness the breath, the Chaitanya, to dissociate with Deha, Sandeha, That is what what you call, Samyoga, Dukkha Sanyoga. That is what is Sandeha. So beautiful, really nice. Yoga is, we have to dissociate with Dukkha Sanyoga. So how it can be done is to concentrate on the prana. That is what Guruji said in Ashtavakra.
Well, focusing on the prana, of course, your energy will rise and your doubts will fall. But then
That is what you are dissociating
with
the doubt, no?
Correct. You're
When the
dissociating.
doubt comes.
But
That
here
is what.
we are not just talking about doubts. We're talking about being in that Atma Jnana, being in that state. So the prana also then, just like how in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is a limitation, there is an expiry date for that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. When you use your prana also to increase your energy, it can also fluctuate. Correct? So all these are temporary. They all have limitations. What Bhagavan Krishna is talking about here, yam labdva chaparam labham, naparam labham. There is no greater gain after you gain this. It is the ultimate. It is that turiya sukha. It is the atyantika sukha. Where there's no point of return. Even if a big tragedy befalls this person, he does not get disturbed. Na vichalyate. So prana also, even Gurudev says, none of the practices you're doing will give you self-knowledge.
Yeah.
Says that, no? So that includes prana.
Yeah.
So our understanding should be that all the pranayam and all that we're doing is important, not that it is not important.
It is a means.
It's there to prepare our mind, correct? But that is not the end in itself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be complacent. We say, oh, we're doing Sudarshan Kriya, so I don't need to do anything. So that complacency should not, even in yesterday's satsang, Gurudev was saying, he says, in order to keep the body pure, healthy, you have to focus on your ahara. To keep the mind steady and mind in a happy state, you have to look at your bhava. He says you'll have to purify your emotions. For that, he prescribed satsang, singing, chanting. And for the intellect, to purify the intellect, he said you should be in knowledge. And he said, I've given so much of knowledge. Read one page of intimate, a note to the intimate seeker, or read Bhagavad Gita. He mentioned so many things. So to purify the intellect is what we're doing right now. All these are just methods of means of getting there. They're not an end in itself. It's just preparing the ground. And prana, he says, is the starting point where you start increasing your energy. And then, so for all of this, the breath is important. But just that breath is not going to take us. It is, of course, required, but that is not the ultimate.
Sorry, could you just repeat the last sentence? What is required, you said? I could hear it.
See, he talks of different levels: body, mind, intellect. And for purification of the intellect, knowledge is required. And prana is required for all of this. He in yesterday's satsang, he had mentioned, in order for you to stay in that uplifted state, prana is required. You uplift yourself, be in that state. To purify your body, to keep it healthy, you have to focus on ahara. For the mind, you will have bhava samshuddhi happens with singing, with satsang, with mantras, chanting and all that. And for the intellect, he said you should remain in knowledge. Knowledge is what purifies the intellect.
There is a very well-known sweet available in Surat called Ghari, which is made from pure ghee.
Yeah.
And then if you eat that, then you don't eat for 2
Bhari.
days.
He
You
says,
fast for
Ghari
2 days.
bahut bhari hota hai.
And if you eat that, then don't eat for 2 days. You can't digest it.
So there's a fine line between nirvikalpa samadhi and recognizing the Atma. Nirvikalpa samadhi is more like an experience, where you can come out of the experience based on any disturbance around. Although it is the ultimate gain in when you practice Ashtanga Yoga. But that is not equivalent to moksha. You only reach a steady state. It is of course, desirable state to achieve. And that comes only with a lot of practice, a lot of effort, a lot of discipline. Only after you've done a certain amount of discipline and all that, you get to that state even. But that is not the end. That is not the ultimate goal.
Antantika. There's not Antantika.
And for that, the recognition of the self is important. And once you do that, once you have recognized you are that, there is nothing else. You're so full. There's nothing else required to be added in order to be full.
That is what Purnamidam Purnamada.
One more thing about Guruji. I was on Sunday at the inauguration of our TOK office. And the person who has traveled a lot with him for nearly about 2000 days in his lifetime, he was sharing that Guru, we talk about desires, raga, dvesha and all that. but we are not even aware that we have small little cravings. Like, suppose when I went to New Zealand, I craved for our Indian food. The food there was like, although courses, advanced courses were on resorts, and the resort served holistic food, which was very bland, and broccoli and a piece of palak, which was just steamed, those kind of things. No carbs at all. They don't eat carbs there. So I found it very difficult, like I wanted to like some Indian lady would come along on one of the days and make some chapati sabji. I would enjoy it. But it seems this way he cited an example that whether Guruji goes to China or he goes to Japan or he goes to Mongolia, they may serve him momos or they may serve him Chinese or something. And Ratiji being a Marwadi, he said, I want pure Indian food like Marwadi food like. So he would go looking for somebody, and if there's an Indian cook in the kitchen, and taking Gurudev's name, he would say, is there anybody who would make some Indian food for Gurudev? At least one dish like, and then first day one dish would come, second day 2 dishes would come. Third day 6 dishes came, all Indian dishes. And then Guruji got it and he said, oh, this must be Ratiji behind this thing. Did you do this? Like, but he is so 100% into it that he will eat anything, there is absolutely no craving in him. Like momos and all, I just don't know. I would never touch one. I don't know. Maybe if I have to go there, I may have to eat it. But I don't know. I mean, still that we don't even realize that we have that kind of craving for our food because we are eating this every day and we are not moving out of our comfort zones. We don't realize how difficult it must be for Guruji to eat this different varieties of foods, which is not even used to. But he's so 100% into it. I mean, he's 100% wherever he goes. And he in acceptance of people and the food that they serve. I mean, such an eye-opening statement that was what a lot of learning we still got. We feel we have no cravings, but this was also an eye-opener to me.
So good, Parsiji, so nice. Even we do when we go out, likes and dislikes. Small things.
So Guruji is practicing some yoga. We have still a long way to go.
Jai Gurudev, by doing that, he is setting an example for us to follow. Jai Gurudev.
Very true. And then he called Ratiji and he told him off.
Gurudev is actually practicing Viyoga, not Samyoga there, I think. Because he's practicing dissociation from the craving for eating Indian food. Whereas Rati was practicing Samyoga there. He was craving Indian food, so he went to the kitchen and he asked for all of that. Whereas Gurudev was in a state of Viyoga, where he was dissociated from that craving. He says, whatever is given to me, I will have. That is Viyoga.
But see, just this one experience that he shared was such an eye-opener for me. I was just comparing myself when I went to New Zealand. I even had made a statement that I'm not a cow, sort of eating greens like that. And absolutely bland. They don't put anything, no jeera powder, nothing. Like, so, I mean, we are not used to that kind of bland food at all. And usually people there abroad put some sauces, but our art of living people don't even put sauces. And in the resorts also, they don't use all this with preservatives and all that.
That's why Gurudev is in that Sukham, Atyantikam, Atindriyam. It's beyond the senses. See, the senses, you want the taste to be kind of satisfied, that the joy you get is again dependent on the senses. But the Atyantika Sukham, that is Turiya Sukham, is beyond even the senses. Even the taste, touch, smell, whatever, sight does not really matter. He's in that beautiful state.
Such a beautiful. I think
And it is for us to realize that how much of
realize.
awareness we have still to
Exactly.
develop.
Exactly. That's what even I'm thinking, where we are and how much more we have to actually cleanse ourselves, of this cravings.
Yeah.
It is, but like what Gurudev says, recognizing it itself, that just the awareness that you are where you are, you've done half the way. You've come half the way. The only other half, it will happen. I think every time if any of us now goes out anywhere, or every day we're eating, that the little urge that comes, if the dish is not according to what we want, then this little thought should come up and then say, oh yes, yoga with the some yoga of craving.
Accept whatever comes.
That will be our sadhana.
Good. This Nididhasa is eye-opening for us all. So wonderful. So many doubts have been cleared.
If anybody has anything to share, we will keep it open.
Yes.
Otherwise, close. Just before closing, I just want to check how many of us here have already registered for the advanced course, because today is the 14th, no?
Yeah.
We have
Only 12.
3 days.
There are only 12 people.
12.
That 2, 3 I have brought in from outside. Like I have reached out to a lot of groups, and from there, very personally known people to me have registered.
Okay. I don't know whether I'll just going to read out the name. Annapurna ji, have you registered? You wanted to do it, right?
In my house, some work is going on. That's
okay.
why, like, I'm
Okay.
just, that's why I'm like, I want to do it, but and everybody, like my father-in-law is also very sick. Also, he's still
No
now he's
problem.
not recovered with fever.
I just wanted to check. Savita ji is, I think, traveling. She will not be able to do. Sheila ji is already registered. Malti ji is Dr. Mara and Madhuri ji, just check if you have not registered. Dr. Mara, Percy ji is doing an advanced course online, 17th and 19th. The details were posted in the group. I will repost them again. You check whether it will fit into your schedule, time zone wise and all that. Okay. And if you wish to register, you can maybe seek the help of some of our
I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Suresh ji. You can connect with Suresh ji. And that's what I did, because I could not register from here. So he's registered. My husband will
my phone number is there. You can contact me. Give your Indian contact. I will give my address itself. No problem.
You have not done an advanced course till now, right, Dr. Mara?
No, I have not done.
It will be a beautiful experience. So we all thought we'll do. In fact, it was Madhuri ji's idea.
Yes.
Madhuri ji, I'm not sure whether
I think she is busy something. I don't know.
whether you're able to register.
Actually, Madhuri only called me first. We'll do arrange it.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. I will contact Suresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have the number there in the group.
Okay. Thanks.
We'll need a minimum of 20 at least to get the course going. That's what Percy ji had mentioned.
Maharaji, you can do today only, because tomorrow I will be busy. I will be traveling for a marriage from morning 5 o'clock only.
She'll connect with you, Suresh ji.
Yeah.
Brahmaraji, can I put in my group? Is that okay to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, you can share it in all the groups.
I have also put in all various other groups that I am in. I have put it there.
This is open to anyone, Annapurna ji. It's open to anyone.
Okay.
So
yeah,
anyone
I will tell them.
that will be good.
And it's going to be in Hindi and English both. So like Guruji is also talking in Hindi, English both. Online courses have everything, like Gurudev speaking in both languages. Even in meditation.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll close here today. Let's put in our full effort.
I think all these what we are doing is helping us for the going into advanced course. All these words, really, these are prefix for the advanced courses. Really wonderful. Good.
Jai Gurudev Brahmradi, I couldn't be joining this weekend because I also have a marriage to attend and I'll be out of station.
Okay.
Though last week would have been okay, but it's okay. Maybe I'll do some other time with
Yeah, but you can share it in your groups in case anyone is interested.
Yeah. That I'm doing and talking personally also.
Good. Very good.
Yeah. Thank you,
right.
sir.
Yeah.
Jai Gurudev.
Wind up today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. In fact, tomorrow we'll be completing 1 year of starting the Manana Gita classes. So I will see if Manana can come in for some time at least, and I will put up the message in the group. Just watch out in there.
I will miss. I am traveling. No, I don't know if I get line network in the train.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
Fine. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.